Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we are going to dive into a topic that has been absolutely blowing up the tech and healthcare headlines lately. I mean, you've probably seen the viral posts talking about fully autonomous, robot-run hospitals, right? But what is actually happening on the ground? In This Explainer, we're going to cut through the noise, look strictly at the data, and uncover the really fascinating truth about AI hospitals.
So let's just address the big question right off the bat. Has China really built a hospital run entirely by artificial intelligence? Is there an actual physical building out there where human beings have just been totally removed from the equation and machines are doing all the treating?
You see these dramatic claims all over the internet. The world's first hospital run entirely by AI. Sounds completely like science fiction, doesn't it? Well, there's actually a very real grain of truth to it, but the reality is a whole lot more nuanced, and honestly, way more interesting than the clickbait makes it seem.
All right, Section 1, the virtual sandbox.
So what's actually out there right now is something called Agent Hospital. This was put together by researchers at Tsinghua University. But here's the absolutely crucial distinction. It is a fully virtual, simulated medical facility. It's not a brick-and-mortar building you can walk into with a sprained ankle. It's actually a massive virtual ecosystem where AI agents are playing the roles of doctors, nurses, and even the patients themselves.
And you kind of have to wrap your head around the sheer scale of this thing. This virtual sandbox is running 42 AI doctors across 21 different medical specialties. And since it's completely digital, it doesn't have to deal with human stuff like getting tired or needing sleep. These AI doctors are churning through up to 10,000 simulated patient cases every single day. They're tackling everything from the common cold to super rare diseases in this totally controlled environment.
Now, if you're wondering if these AI doctors are actually any good, get this. They were put to the test using the U.S. medical licensing examination. Literally, the exact same test that human doctors have to pass. And they scored a 93.06%. That is a massive deal. It proves they aren't just taking wild guesses. They genuinely understand clinical and diagnostic science. So how do they even get that smart? Well, it essentially boils down to 3 steps. First, these large language models ingest an unbelievable amount of medical literature. Then, step 2, they constantly run simulated patient interactions. And step 3 is where the magic happens. Through all that relentless simulation, they are able to pack what would normally take years of clinical experience into just a few weeks. It's an absolute game changer for training.
Section 2, physical reality and super hospitals.
So, what happens when this tech hits an actual physical hospital? We are seeing an insane jump in efficiency. Over at Renji Hospital in Shanghai, human cardiologists would typically see maybe 20 patients during a 3-hour block. But now, working alongside an AI assistant named Ada, those exact same doctors are seeing 100 patients in that same 3-hour window. It's a 5-fold increase, just by letting the AI handle all the preliminary grunt work.
And he goes way beyond just speeding up appointments. At that same hospital, the AI is actively predicting ICU emergencies 30 minutes before the physical alarms even go off. That gives doctors a massive head start when every second counts. It's also casually handling 500,000 online consults every year. Plus, the tech we talked about from that virtual agent hospital, it's actively being piloted in real-world institutions like Beijing Tsinghua Chang'an Hospital. AI is literally saving lives behind the scenes right now.
And hey, this isn't just happening in China. It's a huge global movement. Look at Bengaluru, India. A hospital network called SuperHealth is running an agentic AI operating system known as SuperOS. This system is essentially running the entire hospital end-to-end. We're talking outpatient scheduling, ICU monitoring, coordinating the operating rooms, and it even generates all the clinical docs in multiple Indian languages.
Also in Bangalore, you've got Bains International Healthcare, which actually markets itself as India's first AI-powered hospital. They lean heavy on AI for smart patient registration, diagnostics, and workflow. But here is the key takeaway you need to remember. At Bains, just like over in Shanghai, real human doctors are still the ones doing the physical exams and treating the patients.
Which brings us perfectly to Section 3, the division of labor. Exactly where do we draw the line between the machine and the human? Right now, AI absolutely crushes high-volume data-heavy tasks. Medical triage, scheduling, reviewing scans, drafting notes, generating discharge summaries. It does all of that incredibly well. But the humans? Humans have to do the final diagnosis. Humans do the complex surgeries. Humans are the ones breaking bad news, making the tough ethical calls, and actually physically examining the patient at the bedside. AI right now is a brilliant assistant, but it is not an autonomous doctor.
Section 4, Complications and the Horizon.
Of course, a shift this massive has some really tricky hurdles, and experts everywhere are grappling with them. Number one is liability. If an AI drafts a bad treatment plan and someone gets hurt, who gets sued? The developer? The doctor? Number two is privacy. We're talking about extremely sensitive data here, and governments are scrambling to enforce tighter security in clinical authorization systems. And finally, the human touch. A lot of critics rightly worry that if we optimize a hospital entirely for speed and efficiency, we might lose the empathy and compassion that medicine is supposed to be all about.
But listen, despite those risks, the momentum is just undeniable. Look at this figure, nearly 100 million RMB, which is about 14 million US dollars. That's the funding that a company called Tyrex Agent Hospital just raised to take these virtual consultations global. Their digital rooms are officially open to doctors worldwide, and they can support diagnoses for over 1,000 different disease types. The money is flowing in.
I think this quote here perfectly nails the reality of what's actually happening. AI plus human intelligence working together. AI assistants support doctors, they do not replace them. That is the prevailing model for the future. It's AI plus human clinicians, not AI instead of them.
So, that leaves us with this final thought. We aren't checking into a hospital run exclusively by robots anytime soon. But as AI handles the endless paperwork, the data crunching, and the scheduling, how is the role of your doctor going to change over the next 5 to 10 years? Think about it. When they aren't buried under a mountain of charts, how much more time will they actually have for you? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and definitely keep exploring this topic because the future of healthcare is changing fast.